Hello. Welcome to my Vita Day 4. My hair is sticking up. I didn't really have anything to talk about today, so I was like, I'll talk about my favorite book ever, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Marianne Schaefer and Anne Martin. It's a story that is just simply fantastic. It is my first ever dark chocolate book and kind of how I discovered that they existed and that they were out there. The story revolves around the person that I consider the main character, Juliet Ashton, and how she kind of like grows, I guess, is the story. She receives a letter from Darcy Adams, who lives on the island of Guernsey, around the time that she's trying to find subject for a new novel of hers. And it's right after World War II. Guernsey was occupied England, and he is writing to her to find out more about the author Charles Lamb, because they don't have a lot of books left on Guernsey because most of them were taken away by the Germans. And he tells her story of how the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society came into being and how it started with a roasted pig and how potato peel pies were involved. And she ends up conversing or exchanging letters with, not really conversing, but corresponding, there we go, with many people on the island of Guernsey, all of the members of the Potato Peel Pie Society, and finds her inspiration for her next book. And just, she ends up going there and talking to people, and it's a series. The entire book is made up of letters from different people, or journal entries in the end by Isola Adams. It's just fantastic. Like, the whole book, you learn a lot of history about what happened in occupied England during the time, like the islands that were taken, and a lot of what went on, like how the Germans treated people, and how there's a story about how the first, like, somebody came to the island of Guernsey right after the occupation ended, and they were unloading things, and how people didn't care so much about the clothes and stuff, but the man walked off with the first newspaper and was like flooded with people because people just wanted that information. And I don't know, the story speaks to me a lot because it talks about the human condition and how we as the human race handle that sort of thing, and what kind of hope that we have, and the people who make life different. One of the main characters of the story, her name's Elizabeth, and she's dead, but every person in the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society has a story about her and talks about her and the difference that she made in their lives, and the difference that and the way that she was able to contribute to how they functioned is just it's so great. So if you ever get a chance, I would encourage you to go pick up the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. It's a book club it's a book club favorite, I guess. It's on Barnes & Noble shelves as books read in groups or clubs. So if you're planning on starting a book club, or you know of people that would enjoy reading something like that, you can be like, hey, let's start a book club and read it. Yep. I have a sort of book club. I mentioned it in my first video. When I was in college, I had a conversation with one of my friends, Deanna, and I was like, I love reading books out loud, and I used to read them out loud to my little sisters, and I was like, and now that I'm here at college, I just don't get the opportunity to anymore. And she was like, I love being read to. Read me a story. So I ended up reading her a story, and we chose like young adult books. We started with Gail Carson Levine's The Two Princesses of Bomar and moved on from there. We read Dave at Night. We read all sorts of stuff. And right before we graduated, we read A Damsel in Distress by P.G. Wodehouse. And if you know anything about him, you know that it was hilarious, because that's who he is. He is the man who came up with Jeeves. And it's just so funny and brilliant and one of my favorite novels. But since then, because I graduated and moved away, we hadn't been able to do that, and this past year, I don't know when I started, but I started recording myself reading a book called The Alchemist by Michael G. Scott, and I found it incredibly dull and boring. We were on chapter like 13 and nothing had happened. It kept like building up to the point where you're like, something has got to occur, and nothing occurred. Like there was nothing that went on in this book, and we were just like, all right. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society out loud because it's awesome. So I do that. I've done that. I've recorded 4 parts. I can't really divide it up into chapters, so I do a couple of letters every time I read, and it's a lot of fun. I do accents. We did Artemis Fowl, and Artemis Fowl is Irish. So I had to do an Irish accent, which I think sounded more like a Scottish accent. I have a Scottish coworker, and so I'm pretty sure I sounded more like her than I did like an Irishman. Whoops. Anyway, that's how much I love books. I love reading them out loud. I love reading them to myself. I love spreading the love to everyone else. I am currently on page like 35 of The Fault in Our Stars. I'm in chapter 5, and I've laughed out loud many times already. And I know that it's going to be really sad, and I know that the crying will come eventually, but I'm kind of happy that at this point of time I'm laughing. It's only the beginning. My younger sister Martha looked at me and she was like, why would you want to read that? You know what happens in the end, and it's going to be so sad. I was like, I'm already in the thick of it, and I was on page 28. Like, I honestly feel like I'm super involved by page 28, so it's that good. You'll probably get more progress on how that's coming along. Also, today, I made strawberry shortcake by hand. I'm kind of proud of myself a little bit. Just a little. And by a little, I mean a lot. I never make food. Like, I don't cook because typically I'm bad at it because my attention span, not that great for cooking. But I did good today. I did good. Anyway, that's my vlog for the day. Have a good Sunday.